and will help you on your journey to digital fitness. So please join us as you download that if you haven't done so yet. I think this is really a very important series. I think we want to move on now to begin the process. I want to thank everyone who is here today, and we just want to once again commit this whole the meeting in the hands of God and pray that everyone who is here will be blessed, and that this will make you a fit member and be able to carry out your work as a marketplace person. So I'd like to hand over to Pastor John now to take us through. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Have a wonderful day.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody. We're going to, first of all, observe the national anthem, and then we'll share the pledge, a national pledge, because this is AiMP, and that's the pattern we follow, and we'll move from there. So the national anthem. Can we take that all together? Those of us that can rise or
Nigeria's calling to serve our
fatherland
with love
and
strength
and faith.
Because of our heroes past shall never be in vain. To serve with heart and mind, one nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Let's take the second stanza also, please. Thank you.
Oh God,
God
of creation, direct and no control, guide our leaders right, help our youth the truth to know. In honesty to grow and live in justice and truth. Great lofty heights attain to build a nation where peace and justice shall reign.
Thank you very much. The pledge.
Pledge to Nigeria, my country, to be faithful, loyal, and honest, to serve Nigeria with all my strength,
To
defend her unity and
uphold
her honor and glory.
So
So help me God.
God. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Once again, you're welcome. We are so glad you're able to join us today. I'm going to take a few minutes to just share the AiMP vision and give a context to our meeting today. Like Shegu has said, we're building, even though we're building forward into the the session we had in the month of July. Those of us, I'm sure some of us who are here were part of the July session, and we're glad you were able to be part of that session. And we do look forward to the progress we're going to make today. And we're so glad you're able to join us. We will be, basically, my role today is to share a bit of the vision of AiMP and who we are, what we are all about, and help you with the context of what the organization represents. Just give me a moment there. We thank God for the opportunity today. Thank you very much. Yeah, so taking a few minutes to talk about the AiMP network. Those of you who have been to some of our sessions, we are a network of Christian leaders and professionals, and what we do have in common is that we are passionate about societal transformation and nation building. Our founding objective at the time we launched in 2003, there were a number of things on our table, a number of burdens that we carried. But what we think was at the heart of it is the fact that we felt that we are being called to develop and support individuals who are committed to personal transformation that can then accept responsibility for the transformation of all spheres and all areas of society. Our founding vision is to be a strategic vehicle for nation building across the African continent through values-driven transformation of the marketplace. We believe that nations are built by men, and that except people make that commitment, that nations do not ultimately go forward by themselves. The mission of the network was and still remains to raise and support apostles in the marketplace who can then facilitate the emergence of a new Nigeria. And we define an apostle in the marketplace as an agent of change committed to making a lasting impact in society. We also view him as a nation builder who, through personal commitment to Christ and the disciplined application of biblical principles in all areas of life, not just limited to the four walls of a local church, it's able to transform society. We believe that as Christians, we do have a stakehold in the nation. We have a role. The calling is to make disciples of nations. The work that God calls us to do, it goes beyond the four walls of the church. The equipping that we receive is to help us make our own contribution. So ultimately, the network, therefore, serves as a platform that empowers individuals to first identify their gifts, secondly, articulate their burdens, and finally, fulfill their mission as change agents. We believe that, again, as I've said, that nations are built by men, and only transformed people can really transform society. And we believe that also that the new Nigeria is possible, but for that to happen, you're going to have a network of individuals who connect with each other and accept the responsibility for both the transformation of society and the very challenging role of nation building. The example we learned from history, from many parts of the world, but particularly from Lee Kuan Yew, who is considered the founding father of modern Singapore. He said that what made the big difference in Singapore and what made Singapore possible was that a group of them between 1963 and 1965 met that commitment that while they were still a part of Malaysia, they made a commitment that they wanted to live only one life, and that they wanted that one life to see the transformation of Singapore in their lifetime. They were bright, able, and the best of their society, and they lived that life, and we saw the result at the end of his life. One of the interviews he held over his lifetime, he said that people have accused him of many challenges in life. They said he's been accused of many sharp practices, And he said, but what do you have? He said, you have a modern day Singapore, a transformed society. And I said, what did it cost me? He said, it cost me my life. Of course, those people who have read a bit of his history know that he was a first-class law graduate from Oxford. And then, he left private practice to be able to go into public service. And the rest, as they say, is history. Today, we have the August edition of the online AiMP series. The AiMP series usually provides a forum for discipleship of marketplace Christians in particular and the larger society in general. And that's what we're going to be experiencing today from our very able facilitators and our moderator. We have several programs of the network. One of them is nation building. We have a nation building workshop we do host in Abuja and Lagos. It's usually a working session that highlights and summarizes the work we've done through the monthly series throughout the year. Last year in Abuja in October, we had Hope for a New Nigeria. And that's the people that attended the session on the right side of the screen. And we hosted Mr. Kayode Piton of Bank of Industry and the Vice President, who ultimately didn't make it, but had made the previous 2 workshops, both in Abuja and Lagos. We also have other training programs, and I want to highlight the Change Agents Academy today in the limited time I have. The next class of this academy is launching on the 29th of August, and it's going to be 100% virtual. The academy is actually for both current leaders and rising leaders who are ready to be inspired to play their part in the transformation of society. If you feel equal to the call, if you feel passionate enough, if you feel you need additional impetus, if you feel that there's something that is burning within you and you think you can make your own contribution to the birth of a new Nigeria, the Nigeria of our dreams, this program could be for you. Why? So they're going to present the poll throughout this session. Why don't you answer in the affirmative, and the secretariat will get back to you. But we are launching this class, and we have had outstanding testimonies. People have come from all walks of life. We've had retired professors, we've had a presidential aspirants, we've had senior pastors, we have had entrepreneurs, businessmen. We've had people from all walks of life and all industries. We probably have trained about maybe 60 plus students since the launch of the first stream in 2018 in Abuja. So the academy, Dr. Kusa, who was part of the 2019 class and is a retired lecturer from the Lagos State University, said that the CAA is an incredible laboratory and is for anyone who wishes to positively adjust his or her worldview as regards leadership and nation building. She recommends this course for all Nigerians who desire to make a positive impact in society based on biblical principles. So we invite you to join this next stream, August 29th. And we'll have other programs for younger people between the ages of 25 and 35 who want to navigate successfully and effectively the challenging terrain of the business or corporate environment in Nigeria or the corporate Nigeria. This program, we're also launching this in September. If you want, the poll will be presented. If you're interested, just give us your details. They'll get back to you. This program is for people in the early hours of their career, and I'm sure that it will be a blessing. So registration for the academy, like I said, is ongoing. It's going to be cut off maybe by Monday. If you want to be in that class, I encourage you. If you have questions, please send them notes and make sure that you respond to that. But I think we have an incredible session today. So I want to welcome you one more time. I just have a few more minutes here. I'm going to take a moment to introduce our moderator. If you were here last month, Owa is back, and we are so glad she's able to complete today what she started in the month of July. And it was a pleasure having Owa last time, and we thank God for the important role she played. And we're looking forward to the important role she'll play today. So what do we know about Owa? We know, well, Owa works for African Capital Alliance Group. She works specifically for Capital Alliance Nigeria, which is a member of the ACA group. She's head of corporate development, and also it's involved in human resource development and external relations. She also helps with strategy definition and implementation. Owa's background, it's in human resources and human resource management. So she's personally committed to principles of enduring individual and organizational effectiveness. And I've known Owa for a number of years. Owa is a member of a fellow of the African Leadership Initiative, which I'm also a fellow. So we've worked together on several projects. and the Aliwa is a chapter of the Aspen Leadership Global Network. Owa's desire is to see organizations become more effective. And I think as we navigate this new era, that role is more sharpened, and I hope that will come across today. Owa sits on several boards, which includes the ACA Foundation, the Impact Investing Foundation of Nigeria, the African Venture Philanthropy Alliance, and of course, the American Business Council. And we're so happy to have her today. So Owa, thank you for coming, and thank you for being available to play your part today. I would hand over to Owa at this junction. Thank you very much, Owa.
Thank you, Pastor John. Thank you, everybody, again for attending this series, Digital Fitness 2. Indeed, we got such positive feedback from the last session, and we felt we needed to continue with this work because the wealth of information we require to be digitally fit is not something you can package in a 2-hour session. Indeed, it's going to be a journey for many of us. As Pastor John talked about the mission of AiMP and how it's to help apostles fulfill their mission, something that hit me was, you can't fulfill your mission if you don't have the credibility and expertise required in the marketplace. In other words, if you go out there and you are a naif or a novice, the tendency is that you will be ignored. And I think, like the sons of Issachar, understanding what the season is, that's what AiMP has just, shown and reflected in deciding to have the second version of digital fitness. So in my mind, as we go into this session, I remember something I read during the week, reading the American translation, the New American Standard translation of the Bible. And it said, make wisdom your sister and understanding your intimate friend. We want digital fitness to become an intimate friend of every apostle in the marketplace, because it is a facilitator. It is a friend towards your effectiveness. And that's the way we must see this journey. So today, once more, I have 3 presenters, excellent presenters that I'm delighted to be working with today. Their names are Rolly Esiri, and we will get to know a bit more about Rolly as we move on. I believe her profile is here, and I will read it out at the time. Tolu, that we all met Tolu last time, Olofoyeku, and Shola Adewale, who we also got to know. And each of them will be handling, a different aspect of this conversation. Rolly is going to talk about the, future of work. So she's going to paint a vision about that workplace that will become the norm, or has begun to become the norm for many people, and ensure that we know where it fits in. Thank you. So ensure we know where we fit in and how we kind of position against that, norm that will become mainstream, in just a few years' time. So she'll be talking about the future of work, and very interesting presentation which I've seen, and she will give way to Tolu thereafter, who focuses then on the tools for work. So there's this future we're heading towards, but what apps, what tools currently at least do we have that can enable us, migrate towards that future of work? And Shola will round up the entire session by talking about the skills we need to operate those tools, those apps, and manage in the workplace. So we are on quite what I'll say a beautiful journey, and we hope it will be impactful. One thing I'll ask again, and this I asked the last time, was please get out a sheet of paper. I know we all have notebooks with us. Open to a page and write out the one thing you intend to gain from this session. And let it be that if we don't cover that one thing, that is a question you ask in the Q&A afterwards. So I'm going to give 10 seconds very quickly. What is that one thing, that you hope to glean from this session? Now, as you write that, I'm going to also talk about the protocols in terms of how you can ask questions. Obviously, the chat forum is free. Please, comment all the way, give us feedback all the way, and we will adjust based on the comments we get from you. And if you have questions that emerge right after the speakers, don't wait till the very end. Go to the Q&A link and please type in your question there. And what I'll do at the end is pull it all together and have our presenters respond to your questions. So at the beginning, the chairman of AiMP, Segun, did mention that if you haven't downloaded the app, please do so. You go to your Google Play and you just talk about digital fitness app. It's a PwC app, and you download it there so that you can be involved when Shola is presenting, because he's going to refer to that app and how you can make the most of it. Luckily, we have an extension of its use till sometime next year. So we have close to 12 months or 11 months to actually grow in becoming a digital native. So on that note, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Mrs. Rolly Esisi, and I will read Rolly's profile out. Rolly is a manager in People and Organization Advisory. She's currently mapped to organizations in the financial services industry and has led various human resources transformation projects. She has led various conversations around the future of work and is currently focused on leading organizations on digital workforce transformation. Prior to her experience with PwC, she worked with one of Nigeria's leading banks, where she successfully developed and implemented vital business and human resources strategies and programs. So on that note, I'll be inviting Rolly to take us for the next 20 minutes on the future of work. Thank you, Rolly.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this session. In a few minutes, I will share my screen and we can take it on from there. Okay, good morning again, everyone. Good afternoon again, everyone, and welcome to this webinar organized by Apostles in the Marketplace. Like Mrs. Uwa said, I am Rolly Esisi, and I will be leading the conversation and preparing to be the workforce of the future. I will be speaking for 20 minutes, and the conversation will be centered around 4 key areas. 1 is how COVID-19 is changing our world. 2 is forces shaping the future of work, then preparing for the future today, and then key priorities for leaders. At the end of this session, I hope to do 2 things. 1 would be to energize you to pay more attention to the changing world of work, and 2, to impart knowledge on the capabilities organizations will be focusing on, so we are equipped to adapt to the changing world of work. As you may recall, human resource leaders have been leading the conversation on the future of work and did not expect to have a real-life rehearsal with COVID-19. And COVID-19 indeed has accelerated a number of trends relating to the future of work. All right. Right now, there is an increase in technological adoption. And nobody's left behind, from school children to our aged parents. We see a significant increase, all right, in remote working, which did not exist in January of this year. All right. This just tells us that we need to prepare, as the rates of change is indeed unprecedented compared to what we have experienced in the past, if you know what I mean. All right. Also, COVID-19 has right now rewritten the playbook on upscaling, where you now have the 80-year-olds who are not left behind. They have to learn how to use WhatsApp and Zoom to attend, their church events or weddings and other ceremonies. You have now, there are different skills that are now available that you need to learn how to use. You need to apply yourself to learn these skills. All right. Collaboration right now is on a high because we have situations where we are always on our laptops or on our phones, and this makes it impossible for you to, relate with people and all of that. But there is a need for you to relate with people at this time. And COVID-19 has also ensured that there is an increase in that, because as people are, their social distancing and all of that, now we have to find indeed ways where we need to collaborate more. And now where is collaboration happening? Is happening over Zoom, is happening over Google Meet, is happening over Slack, for those who know what that is. I mean, and And these organizations are raking in millions from online subscription, and the list just goes on and on and on. What have we learned from this? What are the lessons that we have learned from this? Well, let us focus on what has changed, and that would help us to know what we have learned from this. And bringing it home to the workplace, let's look at it again. How we work and learn has actually changed. With COVID-19, we have seen a lot of training happening in different ways. Training happens on Instagram. Training happens on WhatsApp. Training happens on Facebook. Training happens everywhere. And in the workplace, organizations now do not have to worry about completion rate of online trainings, because that is the only place it is happening for most organizations. All right. And then where we work, now we have a remote or on-site or hybrid situation. Either some people are working remotely, some people are on-site, some people are a bit of both. Skills that are required in the workplace. Right now, what are the skills that are required? One key skill, that is required is adaptability, and I'll speak about it later on. And tech savviness is a core skill that is required for you to be able to work, okay? Organizational culture, culture is a key thing now, because people have to now adapt to a new way of working, all right? So working from home, and dress codes, are organizations really looking at dress codes? Policies have had to change now because of the new world and the new way of working, all right? Okay. But then, this, all I have said is the reason why we have to be prepared for the future, and which is now upon us. Now, PwC did a research, and in that research, we identified 5 global mega trends that are shaping the future, which is now upon us. One of which is technology, all right? And indeed, technology is shaping the future. A joke someone recently cracked is that we should amend the Maslow's hierarchy of needs and include Wi-Fi as one of the basic needs of man. We now have artificial intelligence. We have smart cities, smartphones, smart homes, smart cars, with Internet of Things changing the world that we live in and defining the skills that we need in the workplace. So we do not want to be like Kodak. If you recall, Kodak was the first inventor of the digital camera, but they thought that this would cannibalize their business, and until they finally lost the race in 2012, sadly. So even though we have use of camera, the market share for those who produce cameras have been reduced or dropped significantly due to the fact that mobile phones are now cameras. Who knew that the camera industry will be disrupted by the mobile phone? Organizations are not only thinking about ways to disrupt the market, they are disrupting themselves. In fact, change is happening at the speed of thought. Demographic shift. The world is shifting. We are seeing the rise of millennial leaders. We are seeing Generation Z entering the workplace. Generation Z are those that are born into technology. In fact, a child who is 3 years old can literally navigate any device that you're giving to them. Notice that they are now learning robotics and coding right at a young age. And guess what? These people are entering the marketplace right now. In case you don't know it, the Generation Z, the oldest Generation Z is 20 years old, as they were born in the year 2000. So they're already in the workplace. They have either just completed NYSC or about to. In fact, I had a client in one of their graduate trainee classes made up predominantly of Generation Z. They built an application for their organization as their capstone project. So this is the world that we're living in. And then this gives us this means that we really have to think about what's going on with us. 3, shifting global power, global economic power. In the years to come, developing countries will outpace developed nations' economic growth. Now, let's really watch out for what's going on in the G7 and E7 countries. Remember, China sneezed and the whole world caught a cold. Accelerated urbanization. PwC survey revealed that by 2020, it is expected that a number of people living in cities will increase by 72%. In fact, in Nigeria, we have 3.5% urbanization rate, which is made possible because of, we have communication and we now have transportation, all right? Remember, we are talking about the trends shaping the future. Climate change. We know what's going on with climate change. We know that what is affecting us, from changing weather conditions to scarce economic resources. These are the 5 global mega trends shaping business and society. And now, guess what? This is how foresight, if we have foresight and insight and hindsight, we can tap into these mega trends as it is critical to tackling a number of fascinating changes as we adapt to living in this new world that we have found ourselves. To be honest, the game has changed. The game has changed, the rules have changed, the world of work has changed. What we call work has changed, the importance of work has changed, and what we even mean by work has been transformed. Now, how will this impact organizations that we own or that we work in? All right. PwC conducted a survey before the pandemic, actually. And in this survey, we collected data from 79 countries and over 1,200 business and HR leaders. And we discovered the capabilities and 10 of them, top 10 capabilities that organizations require in the future of work, which is now upon us. And we have 10 of them. 1 is trusted by society. 2, human skills, well-being, output, not hours, collaborative environment, adaptability, work-life balance, innovation, pay transparency. All right, but I'll be speaking to just a few of these capabilities, just so that we understand what's going on. All right. And I'll pick 1, which is human skills. Human skills, right? Organizations will be focusing on rewarding human skills such as leadership, creativity, empathy, curiosity. All right. You know that we are all built in a way that, some people are curious, some people are not. But what drives innovation? What are the things what makes you think, what else can happen? What else can we do? It's when you're curious, you want to know what is happening. When you understand what's happening, then you can build from there. All right. And then also seeing that robots are here and work the work that is left for humans to do require a high level of soft skills, particularly communication skills. 2, I would also pick on output, not hours. We have come to a place with the changing world of work. The death of regimented 8 to 5 is imminent. And so people have to now be more conscious that organizations have to rethink what they mean by performance management. And so now more than ever, we are looking at, organizations will be looking at output and not hours. Big question.
Looks like we lost her. Oh, you're muted.
I'm so sorry. I think we've lost Rolly. We'll try and get her back. In the interim, Shola, do you want to kind of step in here? But, before you do, as she was speaking, I will say that something occurred to me. The fact that in a few years' time, there may be some jobs that cease to exist in this future she's just described. And that is a bit scary, as she was speaking, so I asked myself, if you are an admin person managing your office as an office manager in this new reality, what's your career projection like? If you were a nurse, and now we have robotic nurses that dispense and take high blood pressure seamlessly and accurately. And you were trying to build and grow your career as a nurse, maybe you should change the way you intend to do it a bit. If Rolly isn't back, Shola, can you just kind of address that, because it's a bit scary? And yeah, Rolly, when you do come in, let us know.
Yeah, thanks, Ua. This is the age-long debate, or not so age-long, the big debate around all of this technology. Are jobs going to be lost? The truth is, some jobs will cease to exist. That's the truth. But more jobs are going to be created, one, and even some of the ones that were old before are going to have a higher premium. So if you have a nurse, for example, we will always, the robots are actually, as I will talk about in my session, they are products of machine learning, right? So they have to start from a base, but we're going to get them to learn from the best of the best, not the mediocre nurses, right?
Raleigh is back, so we'll hand over. But that's a very interesting area, which Shola, I think you will address as you talk about skills. So Raleigh, over to you as you scare us about the future.
I'm sorry, I didn't intend to scare you. All right.
But no, we love it. Please go on. Please go on. Yeah.
Prepare us. We're just getting prepared as we get ready. We are people of sight, so we can see, so we know. And because we have sight, we can understand the times and we know how to get ourselves ready. And not only that, I mean, we're Daniel generation, so we have what it takes to succeed in that area. I mean, we have the sight of Daniel. Then we are a Jacob generation. So I mean, let's not go into that. Let me just
very good. Very good.
Let me go back to
the slides. Yes.
The slides. Yes. Let me try and present it again. I'm sorry about that. But we know what happens with technology here. Okay.
Ollie, just to say you have 10 more minutes.
Okay. That's good for me. All right, thank you. All right, so adaptability, which is something that organizations have had to adapt very quickly. We can see what happened with COVID-19. So it is indeed a capability for the future, which is now upon us. With the changing landscape, organizations have had to rethink their business strategy. And so skills that are required right now is adaptability. How adaptable are we? Some people have had to learn different things very quickly. So we see that coming to the fore with COVID-19 as well. All right. Innovation, organizations are now embracing new and fresh ideas. No one has been down this road before. And those who have had great insight and foresight and can reimagine the possible, those people will be priceless for organizations in this time. Reskilling, continuous and never-ending learning will keep us employable and relevant as employees and as entrepreneurs. Now, what do we really need to do at this time? We need to move quickly. Move with rapid speed, because remember, there is now urgency in this, there's urgency everywhere. We can hear the urgency. So we need to move with speed. We need to rethink leadership. Organizations are thinking of how to build digital leaders. Organizations are now thinking of leading digital. So how as people who are working in organizations or have businesses, we should be thinking about leading digital. We should be thinking about building digital leaders. We should be thinking about being digital leaders. Humanized technology, people, not jobs. Organizations are now thinking. So as if I heard part of the question that was spoken about just a few minutes ago, the big thing is that, are we upskilling? If we're upskilling, then when the vacancies exist within the organization, and when the jobs that some people are doing are extinct, because we are upskilling, organizations will now not find it difficult to do a quick movement around with people, because you have learned a skill, you're useful here or you're useful there, okay? Now, as success is being redefined, we as part of the change, we are also the change. We are at the forefront of one of the biggest transformation that the human race has had to deal with, So this is the time to be part of the change. This is the time to be the change. And this is the time to look and just pay attention to what's going on and quickly adapt. Now, I will show a video to wrap this up, and then I will come back and close out. Thank you, everyone. I hope we all heard the video. I hope it was clear on your end. All right. Thank you for the opportunity. Remember, preparing to be the workforce of the future that is upon us requires action today. Companies and individuals that embrace this new reality, that recognize the urgency and the work required to deal with the change will have a powerful advantage. Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure being with you all.
Thank you so much, Rolly. Wherever we are, let's give a round of applause to Rolly, and we'll hear a bit more from her later on during the Q&A. But what I think I can take away from her session, which she delivered so well, was a call to action. The fact that it's not business as usual anymore. I mean, it reminds me of the Noah days. Noah is building this ark and people are carrying on as though life is going to continue. It just took one day and the whole world, the reality of the world changed. That may not happen in terms of one day now, but it's growing on us. And for those who want to swim in this new era, like she said, the key is to plan to prepare and begin to prepare, you know. So on that note, I'd like us to transition to Tolu. And Tolu is going to talk about the things we can use in getting prepared that are available today. More will come in the future, you know, but obviously because these things are incremental, when you know how to use what you have currently, and when you know what you have currently, the ability to upskill and adapt and adjust becomes a lot easier. So I'm going to read out Tolu's profile. Some of us met him last month, but I'll take it again. So Tolu is the co-founder and chief technology officer of Kugali Media, a company that publishes African comics from all across the continent and promotes African storytelling through augmented reality, comics, animation, and games. He's also an independent game developer and founder of Illuminaire Game Studios. He has a passion for storytelling and visual expressions of creativity, ranging from software and games development to podcasting and YouTubing. I'd like to stop there and invite Tolu. Tolu, you have 20 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to once again have an opportunity to speak to everybody on digital fitness. Now, I'll be very clear. My goal for today is to provoke people. I don't have enough time in 20 minutes to teach people all the tools I've discovered over the years and what they can do. But what I do have enough time to do is to show you the possibility of the gadgets you already have. If you're watching this live right now, it tells me you have a phone or a laptop or a tablet that can run Zoom. And if you're watching it later on YouTube, then you have a phone or tablet or PC that can run YouTube. If you have those devices, then you already have access to the internet and enough power to do so many amazing things that I'm sure you're probably not aware of many of them. And some of them, you might have heard of them, but you've never really gone into it. So the purpose of my presentation today is to provoke you. The last time I talked about how technology was a sum of techniques, skills, methods, and processes. So I want to blow that up a little bit. And in the previous presentation, Rolly talked about how the future of work has a lot to do with understanding the way technology evolves. And what I will say about that, I know some of you may have been watching that presentation and thinking, but you know what, PwC is a multinational and they have all these resources and you know they have a lot of money. And I don't know what your business is. Maybe you sell hair or you're a member of staff at a large organization and you feel like I don't have the resources to do all these things they are talking about. I want to show you how that is not true. You do have the resources, but the most important resource is your knowledge. If you continue to build your knowledge base, then you will continue to you will not be left behind. Let me put it that way. because that was the focus of Raleigh's presentation. Don't get left behind with all the advances in society. And it's not so much about the devices. It's not about the robots or the AI. It's about knowledge. Choice is based on information, and the more information you have, the better you're able to make good choices about the kind of tools you use. So I'm going to start sharing my screen now, and I'm going to go straight into my presentation. So, can everybody see my screen? Okay, so I'm talking about digital fitness, and I'm focusing on the individual now, not the organization. And I'm going to start with cloud computing. Now, what is cloud computing? In a nutshell, cloud computing is when you outsource computing to somebody else's computer. So let's look at you with your smartphone. Maybe you have an Android phone, and it's not a Galaxy S20. It's, you know, a medium range phone. There are certain things you cannot do, but Microsoft or Google or Apple or one of the other big companies, they have the computers that can do those things. So why don't you just outsource those jobs to them? Now, I'm going to give you a few examples of things you already outsourced in your life, and you will see how this makes sense. If you have a wedding or any big event that requires a large space that can house maybe 300 guests, you don't build the entire event center from scratch. You just rent somebody else's event center, because paying for that event center for one day is cheaper than building your own event center. Even if you have to pay ₦1 million for just one day, it's still cheaper than building your own event center. Another example is banking. Let's say I want to send just 2,000 naira to my friend in another city. Which would be cheaper? If I took that 2,000 naira cash and found a way to transport it by road all the way to another city and have that person collect the cash, or if I just transferred the money by a bank. Yes, the bank may charge me a transfer fee. The bank may charge me 100 naira for transferring it. It's still cheaper than carrying the cash all the way to that person. So that is the advantage of cloud computing. Now let's look at how this relates to computers. Information and record management. Like I said earlier, knowledge should be one of your most prized possessions. And knowledge is made up of facts, skills, and organized information. So if your office or your home or wherever you store all your writings and all your information and your knowledge base and your pictures, if it looks anything like these pictures, then you need to start taking cloud computing very seriously. Now, I talked about outsourcing, and I know many people would think, oh, okay, he's telling me to store these things digitally. So they start thinking about flash drives and external hard drives, but this is not what I am telling you to do. I'm telling you to store it in places like Google Drive, iCloud, Dropbox. These are big companies that have big computers with more than enough space to store all your information. And the advantage is you're letting someone else handle the risk of data loss and recovery. Now, I know in Nigeria, we like to say, God forbid a lot, but let's just imagine that your phone gets stolen or your office burns down, or your laptop falls inside some water, or robbers, or we don't wish for those things, but they happen. It's part of life. If you lose your devices, are you going to lose all the information you have there? When you store these things in the cloud, you can back them up and get them later whenever you need them. Now, some of these services are free, and once you get to a certain extent, you have to pay for them. But it is still cheaper than the alternative, which is losing all your information. I can tell you that once, from the moment I started using cloud computing seriously, which was about 8 years ago, so from about 2012 till now, I have all my information intact. Every picture I've taken since 2012 till now, every note I've written, every video I've taken. I have all of them, and I can, if I lose my phone and laptop right now, give me anybody else's phone or laptop with internet access, I will get all my data back. So that is the advantage of cloud computing. If you've not been using it, your phone can do it already. This, I'm not telling you to go and buy the new iPhone 12 before you can. The phone you're using now can do it. So get on it. Now I'm going to talk about social media marketing. I know many people, even if they have a day job, even if they have a place they go to work every day, they also have some small business on the side. Many ladies sell jewelry, accessories, hair, and guys, you know, guys like to sell things like gadgets, shoes. And most of these people post these things on their WhatsApp status, and maybe they create an Instagram page for it. So that's a start. They are touching the tip of the iceberg. So yes, they are using their social media for marketing, but there's so much more they can do that they are not doing. So I'm going to talk about paid advertising. And again, I know when I say paid advertising, you start to think, oh, I'm just a small guy. I can't afford to pay big money for advertisements. You know, I can't pay for a billboard, and I can't pay influencers. I can't afford them. So if you can't afford the influencers, do it yourself. Do the marketing yourself. Paid ads on social media let you spend only what you can afford. So if what you can afford is 2,000 naira a month, if you know that's your budget, you cannot spend more than 2,000 naira a month on marketing. You can do a lot with 2,000 naira on Instagram, on Facebook, on Snapchat, on Twitter. These tools, you already have these apps. Most of you are on Instagram or Snapchat. You already probably post your whatever it is you sell. You already market yourself there. But it's only your contacts, only your followers that see it. You're not reaching other people who are not following you because you're not using paid advertising. I'm going to jump data-driven decisions because I see I'm a little behind time, but I want to talk about A/B testing, one of the advantages of marketing through social media. Now, if you're marketing through social media, let's say you pay Instagram 2,000 naira, and Instagram says 2,000 naira will let me show your post to 5,000 people who don't follow you. So maybe you have only 300 followers, but because you paid 2,000 naira, Instagram is going to show your advert to 5,000 people, even though those people are not your followers. You can create 2 or 3 variations of the same advert. And Instagram would run all 3 ads simultaneously. And you would see the first advert, 20 people clicked on it. The second advert, 50 people clicked on it. And the third advert, only 3 people clicked on it. That tells you that the second advert is what you should be using. Now, the difference between doing this and paying an influencer to talk about your product, if the influencer talks about your product, you don't get that kind of feedback. You don't know how many people saw your adverts. You don't know how they reacted. But okay, I'm still going to talk about data-driven decisions because that's what I'm going into now. So these are screenshots from my business, Kugali, and this is a post we made, I think about 2 weeks ago. I put a screenshot from PC and another screenshot from mobile to show that you already have the devices that can do this. I'm not doing any, it's not because I'm a tech guru. Many people think, oh, he's a tech guy, he knows all these things. The app you're using on your phone can do it. Just look for the options. Learn how to use these things. Like I said, I do not have enough time today to teach you how to use them, but I want you to see what they can do so that you go and learn it by yourself. You can just Google it, how to do so and so thing. Anything I talk about today, when you hear the one that piques your interest, write it down, Google it later. How do I do so and so thing? Teach yourself. That's how I learned it. That's how most of us learned it. So I was talking about statistics and data-driven decisions. And if you look at this post, if you look at this post, you can see that, okay, there, look at the statistics. I can see that 955 people saw this post organically. 0 people saw it by a paid advert. It means I have not paid to boost it. So if I had paid and maybe 2,000 people saw it through the advert, I would see 955 here as organic and maybe 2,000 as paid. I can see what they did when they saw it. Some 42 people expanded the picture to look at it. Nobody clicked on a link, but that's because there was no link on the post. I can see all those actions, and you will not get that if you pay an influencer to market for you. Am I saying don't pay influencers? No, I am not saying that. Kugali pays influencers to market for us sometimes. I'm saying that there are options. Know your options and know when to use which one. And if you look at the picture on the right, this is the preview of an advert. I have not run this advert. I have not paid for it. But you see $10 here, which is less than 4,000 Naira if we do the conversion. If I were to spend less than 4,000 Naira on the advert, then up to 687 people will see this advert every day for 5 days. So calculate that. This is the point I'm making. With data-driven adverts, you can also focus on your demographics. You know that Facebook collects a lot of information about you. They know where you schooled, they know what you like. Every time you press the like button, they know, okay, this person is interested in this type of topic. Even if you don't write it in your Facebook profile that I love politics, or I love Arsenal Football Club. If you are always engaging on Facebook with posts that mention Arsenal, Facebook will know that this person is an Arsenal fan. This person always engages with Arsenal posts. So if I wanted to market Arsenal jerseys, let's say I sell clothes as my business. If I was selling clothes and I wanted to run an advert, I could tell Facebook, show this advert only to people within a certain age range. I can say within, between the ages of 20 and 30, and show it only to Arsenal fans. So instead of putting my adverts where 200,000 people will see it, but only 10 people are interested, I put my adverts where almost everybody there is interested, because I'm targeting what they already like. And that's what you get with social media marketing. And one last thing I'll say about social media before I move on to the next topic, hashtags. I've noticed most people have no idea how hashtags work, and they write things like this. Look at this long hashtag. This is an entire sentence. It's an entire sentence. It makes no sense whatsoever. And this is how most of us post on social media. Please, hashtags are a way to categorize your posts so that they are easier to find. It makes it easier for search engines to find your content. The way you hashtag a thing can make it more difficult for people to find it, even though they are interested in what you are selling. They are interested, they are searching for you, but they cannot find you because your hashtag makes no sense. So please research how to use hashtags. I don't have time to go into that now. Now, talking about social media and cloud computing, by this point, I imagine many people have started worrying about security. You know, I've heard all these things. My phone is listening to my conversations. My phone is spying on me. I went to my friend's house yesterday and we talked about Ribena, and immediately I saw a Ribena ad on Instagram. How did they know I was talking about Ribena? So let me first answer the question. Is your phone watching you? Well, the answer is yes and no. Your conversations are not being listened to. Your phone camera is not spying on you. But your online activity is being tracked. Every single thing you do online is being tracked. That's how companies like Facebook and Google and almost any social media platform, that's how they make their money, by collecting information about you so that they know what to market to you. So it's not a security risk if the company has your data. It's a security risk if individuals have your data. So I'm saying, and let me give you an exercise. Look at this on the screen, myactivity.google.com. Go to myactivity.google.com later, write it down and check it out later. You will see everything Google has been collecting about you. If you're using an Android phone, they will even know exactly which time you opened which app on your phone. If you're not using Android, you still go to Google a lot. You search for things. You use their map. They are collecting all that data. You watch videos on YouTube. They are collecting all that data. So the question is, what should you do about this? And I say three things: realize, decide, and utilize. So there's this common saying of, you never lie to your doctor, you never lie to your lawyer, even if you're going to lie to everybody else. If you don't give your doctor or your lawyer the truth and all the information they need, they just cannot help you, even if they want to, and no matter how skilled they are. So the same way, I feel like giving my information to Google or Facebook, it helps them help me. It helps them give me the best kind of service, the better they understand me. But if you're not comfortable about it, then I would say you can do a search to find out what exactly is being tracked. So I just showed you how to find out what information Google collects about you. You can do the same on any other platform. You can search, how do I find out what information Facebook collects about me? How do I find out what information Snapchat collects about me? You can decide which information you're comfortable with sharing. If you decide, you know what, I don't care that they are tracking all these things, but I care that they are tracking my location, then you can find out how to turn off the location settings. All these things are settings you can change. Personally, I leave my location settings on all the time because I'm not afraid of somebody tracking me through my location and coming to rob me. Facebook is not giving other people my location, but when I take pictures with my phone, because all my pictures are tagged with the location, I can search through my pictures by location. And even for this presentation I'm making today, I needed to find a video that I took when I was in transit once in Turkey. And I was in the airport in Turkey. I know that's where I took the video. I was able to locate that video very quickly because I knew I could find it through that information. If I removed the location tracking, I would not have been able to pull up that video. So in a nutshell, what I'm saying is realize what is being tracked. Search for it. Find out what information they are keeping about you. Decide what information you're comfortable with sharing and change your settings to remove the information that you do not want to share. And then finally, use the information that they are collecting to your advantage. What would be the advantage for me if my pictures have locations in them, but I never search for my pictures by location? Then I'm not gaining anything. So what about hackers? To be honest, hackers can only take what you give them. If you don't give them your password, if you don't give them information that they are asking for when they send you funny messages, they usually cannot do anything to your account. So don't be afraid that, oh, hackers are going to hack Google and get all my information. Now, as I round up, I want to talk about two more things. Number one, meaningful measurements. So if you have a smartphone, your phone probably costs 100,000 naira or more. You should be able to keep track of things you care about in your life, measure things that matter to you. So I will give an example from my own life, how I use my phone to track my weight. And I'm just going to play this quick video. This is, okay, let me start from the beginning. This is my weight from 2018 till date. I measure my weight regularly and I record it on my phone. And my phone stores all that information, so I don't have to remember. I don't have to say, oh, I think it was this figure at this point in time. Because I care about that, that is useful information to me. I can see the trend. I can see that I've increased over the last 2 or 3 months, and I can decide what to do about it. That is just a very simple example. Your phone can already do it. You probably don't even have to download any app. There's a health app in iPhones, and Android phones have health features built in as well. You don't even need to download any new thing from the Play Store. So speaking about apps, I'm going to round up with just a few more examples of what—
You have 2 minutes.
2 minutes is enough.
Okay.
So let's talk about there's a statement Steve Jobs used to like to say, which is, there's an app for that. So I always tell people, if you want to do a certain thing, if you've thought about it, somebody else has probably thought about it before, and they've probably already built an app that does it. So if you think, oh, I need to do so and so thing, just search which app does so and so thing, and you will find it. So here's one of my favorite apps, Google Lens, and I'll show you 2 examples of things I do with Google Lens, just 2 examples because of time. Now, I mentioned that I was in Turkey, and I bought this toothpaste while I was in Turkey, and I could not read anything they wrote on the toothpaste. So this is me using my camera, and you see my camera has translated it from Turkish to English. Your phone can do it already. Your phone has a camera. It's not just for selfies. Another thing, copy and paste. Now, this is, I'm going to show you an example. This is a book written by a member of AiMP, Working for God in the Marketplace and you see, right here, I'm pointing my camera at the book to copy text from the book and paste it in my phone. I don't need to type everything I'm seeing on the book. If I see something that I like, I copy it with my camera, I go to my notes, I paste. Your phone can do it. Your phone can do it. You download the Google Lens app. This is just an example. And social media tools, I'll just round up with this. Hootsuite and Buffer are 2 tools you can use to manage all your social media accounts if you're using your social media for business and you want to, you have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, you want to post on all of them. You can post once on either of these apps, on Buffer or on Hootsuite, and it will post on all 4 places. It will track your stats across all 4 places. These apps can help you manage your things. And HubSpot, this is a very beautiful app for managing customers. And so let's say you receive emails, you receive DMs on Twitter and DMs on Instagram. How do you keep track of where you received what and where you spoke with which person and which person wants what? It can get very confusing. So you can use this app to manage it. And the very last slide, there are some very beautiful note-taking apps that store your notes in the cloud so that you can retrieve it later. So like I said, I can show you every note I've taken in church services from 2012 till date because I have all of them in Evernote. And you have so many options. So in closing, the purpose of this presentation was to provoke you. I want you to see that, hey, my phone can do all these things and I'm not even doing them. So the next time you have an idea of something you want to do, search for it. What app does so and so thing? It's not because I'm a tech guru that I can do this. I did not make these apps. I just search which app can do this thing and I find it and I use it. Thank you very much.
Well, I mean, that's a presentation from a true digital native. Tolu has certainly shown us what the bar can be. I must say, I saw Joe's comment about Google Lens and I totally echo what he thinks because I just thought, okay, now translation made easy. So Tolu, we truly thank you and you have provoked us sincerely. Before we move to Shola, I'd like to say that the poll is up and we really would appreciate your capturing your thoughts on the poll. It helps us plan because time is actually spent dissecting the information you give us. I was in the meeting after the last session and it was very interesting what the poll data was telling us. So we want to hear from as many of you as possible. And then also I've noticed a few people with raised hands. Please type your questions in the under the Q&A link. It will help me greatly in ensuring that your question is addressed before the conclusion of the session. So at this point in time, I'm going to introduce Shola Adewale. We had introduced Shola the last time, so again, I'll make this probably very summary. So Shola is a partner, PwC, and territory leader of the firm's global digital upskilling initiative. I won't bother with the remaining part of that. He leads PwC's people and an organization advisory practice in Nigeria, Ghana, and Liberia. One thing I'll tell you is that Shola is extremely busy. And his profile speaks to that, because he's constantly on meetings trying to resolve clients' issues. So, Shola, we truly are happy that you can spend 20 minutes of your very valuable and costly time with us. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ua. And I want to start by, first of all, thanking the hosts and the leaders of the Apostles of Marketplace. Long before I knew about AiMP, I have always considered myself as an apostle in Marketplace, because I think our faith is of no relevance if it's not shining out there. I want to welcome everyone to this session. After listening to Rolly and then Tolu, I'm wondering, what else can I say? What else will I say? I hope you are bored enough. I hope you are full enough that you don't have too much space for my very detailed presentation. So Rolly, called us to action. Tolu has provoked us. I have downloaded Google Translate. I'm looking for Google Lens. So my job is pretty simple. I'm going to pull up my presentation in a moment. And I am going to be speaking on upskilling, how to build confidence in an uncertain world. And I think if there's anything that I got from what Tolu and Rolly said, it is the fact that we're in very uncertain times, and that uncertainty has been brought because of disruption. So at the end of the last session, in July, I basically tried to introduce us to the broad themes around digital fitness. I spoke about skills, behaviors, mindset, and relationships. So my assignment today basically is to try to dig a bit deeper and unpack particularly the skills part of things. And this is my outline. I'm going to spend a minute or two on disruption. What is this whole thing about? The importance of digital fitness, or if you like, digital fluency. And I have to say here that, we may be very excited about the Google Lens, we'll be excited about the output, not hours, that Rolly has spoken about, but this is really an existential crisis or challenge for us. It's a matter of, I won't say life or death, but I mean from a career and business point of view, our response to this can determine a lot of things. Even if you think about what happened during COVID-19, at the peak of it, how entire organizations, churches, institutions were caught flat-footed. I'm on the board of a primary school, and it was almost a crisis for us, if not that there had been things that had been in the pipeline before that. And then I'll wrap up by just basically digging deep quickly into the essential 8 technologies that we have found out as far as PwC is concerned. There are 2 sides of a coin. So the technologies are on one side, and then the skills are on the other side. So to get us started, like I said, this is an existential challenge for us. This is something that determines whether we're going to be doing well this year or next year. I heard a quote by, I think it's Ali Baba, the internet guy in China, who said that if you can survive 2020, you have done well, just that you survived, okay? And I think one of the things that will help us to survive going forward is being able to cope with this disruption, okay? So innovation can change, or is changing entire industries, entire businesses, and no one, whether
Hello, I think we've lost Shola briefly. So maybe as we expect Shola back, Tolu, can you hear me?
Yes, I
Great.
can.
So as you were speaking, I mean, this is just me as a consumer wondering. I mean, you have obviously, a lot of insights into things that are currently available. Do you have anything written online, like a how-to manual or some kind of like a tutorial of sorts of a few of these apps that if we downloaded it, we can take our time over the next few weeks, kind of just ensuring that our phones can begin to implement some of the things you said.
Actually, I've been giving that a lot of thought over the last few weeks, because I did a video on my personal YouTube channel, which is not a big YouTube channel. I just put a few things there. And I did a video for a friend on how I use a particular app because he was curious. And I decided maybe I will make more and more videos like that on how I use certain apps, and just put all of them on my YouTube channel. So I've created a playlist called Tolu's Toolbox. So if you go to YouTube and search for Tolu's Toolbox, there's probably just 1 or 2 videos there right now, but I will be updating it over the next few weeks. It's just that this is something I'll be doing on the side. It's like a passion project, and because I will face my work first, I cannot promise that I will be updating it very regularly. It might be 1 video every 2 months.
Hello, don't worry. The passion will show for what you do. Will encourage you to give as much time to it. It won't be work in vain, believe me. So please, we definitely are going to visit Tolu's Toolbox. I am going to this evening. So Shola is back. So Shola, welcome. Please go on.
Thank you. So you can imagine how much money that someone will make if they could develop an app that guaranteed that there was never a downtime on the internet, whichever network you are using. I apologize for that. Anyway, so I think I basically have established that first principle, that first step in my presentation around how disruption. I was going to talk about Netflix, okay, and how all of us now, most people either are using Netflix or Amazon film, Amazon movies or whatever. If you think about it, in Nigeria and indeed in Europe it was Blockbuster, in America Blockbuster, but now in Nigeria we used to have Video Mart. I don't know if anybody remembers Video Mart in Koi Club and many video clubs all over the place. All that has changed. I mean, I have a friend, one of our partners in the office, who says he doesn't even subscribe to DSTV anymore. He is able to do everything he wants on Netflix. And yet DSTV still sent me a text yesterday that they're increasing their tariff. We'll soon settle. Okay. So digital fluency is really the key to responding to this disruption for our lives, for our businesses, for our organizations. If you are not digitally fluent, digitally fit, you won't be able to play in this new world. There's no nicer way to express that. And a lot of the things that we've had so far today are critical, okay? Now, when we talk about digital fluency, what are we talking about? Many people think that digital is about a great website or an app or some technology, but digital, in very simple terms, is about new ways of solving people problems, customer problems, employee problems. That's what digital is about, and it's contributing to your organization or business performance, even if you're not a profit-making business. So digital is simply using technology to solve problems and creating entirely new experiences for people. Digital is about data. Tolu spoke a lot about the data that you are generating every time you Google, you do a search. Data is being generated and people are using that data. Organizations are using that data. So if data is everything, can you imagine if you are a professional and you now decide to pick up serious skills in data and analytics? You almost immediately change your narrative professionally. If data is everything, data is now in HR, is in admin, it's always been in finance. If you don't know how to use data, collect data, process data, analyze data, visualize data, then you're not going to be able to play in that space. Okay, digital is about designing experiences that people can use. I was at a conference a couple of years ago where PwC showcased some of these things, and one of the technologies that we use is a virtual reality device that allows people to experience holiday resorts all over the world to make their choices. So you actually get transported into Mykonos or Malta or wherever from where you are, okay? It's about agility, it's about being flexible. It's about getting ideas from unexpected places. Because again, Rolly spoke about collaboration, relationships. The best ideas may not and will not likely come from the traditional places where you have known them to come, okay? So digital is about the ability to drive employee productivity, customer engagement, and loyalty, okay, and innovation. So when you think about digital, think about data, think about experience, think about innovation, think about business performance, think about employee engagement and customer as well. So let's go quickly into the 8 technologies. I'm going to spend a couple of minutes on each one. So now, last month, I spoke about the 4 pillars of digital fitness, okay? Skills, mindsets, relationships, and behaviors. And I think I gave an illustration last month of how even in PwC, as recent as January, I was in a meeting where one of our senior people was angry or upset that, can I imagine somebody had gone home at 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock, even in a firm that for 2 years or more, we have practiced what we call everyday flexibility. And I had to stand up and I say, well, because I'm custodian of future of work. So I had to ask the person, so what's wrong with that? Aren't you even happy the person came to work? Now, for the last 5 months, none of us has shown up in the office maybe once in a week or once in a month. So mindsets are important. Relationships, how you engage with people in terms of collaboration, because the best ideas come from most unknown places and expected places. So I brought this up just to remind us about the digital fitness app again. So they showed it, it was on the screen at the beginning, it's going to be on the screen at the end. It's a very powerful tool that helps you to assess where you are and helps you to begin to build first level capabilities in these areas. So what are these essential 8? So I will just go straight to them because they are numbered here as well. First one, 3D printing. Again, like Tolu said, I can't, these are week-long courses, so I can only say so much in 2 minutes of each. Let's start with the first one, 3-dimensional printing, okay? This is a process of creating a 3-dimensional object by using your good old printer that used to print paper. But now the printer is not able to print layers. So you can imagine that instead of paper, you had the polymers or the wood that constitute a particular material, and you print it in layers until you can print the entire thing, and they are printed in an additive manner so that you can stick them on one another. And this is a very powerful tool because it's allowing organizations to quickly build things without having to build a factory to know it. I remember years ago, I was trying to build a property, and they said, oh, it took a long time to do the model to show the configuration what it was took forever. But today, with 3D printing, we see architectural companies, or if you like, property developers in Nigeria, that all those houses happening in Lekki Axis, you can actually print those things, print a model of your estate so that people can see it without spending a lot of money and resources in that. So think about it as a professional. If you understood the thinking and all of that works with 3D printing, you've got yourself a job. But if you are still a Showolu printer the old way, then you need to upskill very quickly. Secondly, artificial intelligence. This is just the theory of using computer systems that exhibit human-like intelligence. Amazing. So Netflix, every time I watch Netflix, I love action movies. It tells me this one is recommended for you. My wife loves, guess the kind of film she loves, like romantic movies. And say, this is the one you should watch. I say, no, this is not me. Everybody has their separate account. So Netflix looks at your, the things you searched for in the past and recommends to you, makes your life so much easier, saves them data or bandwidth of storing all kinds of movies that are not relevant. If you remember Video Match in those days, you have plenty of films that nobody was watching, and all of us were focusing on the same thing, and you had to queue. Thirdly, augmented reality. And these definitions are all on the screen. I'm not going to go into them. They're going to share them with you. But things around how you create the physical world, but put them in a way that people can experience them from a digital overlay. And that's exactly what Tolu was talking about when he talked about your lens earlier, okay? So many organizations like Apple are putting a new emphasis on augmented reality, okay, which enables you to view the real world with an overlay. So you can create a new visual about the world by just augmenting your reality, adding to it. So if I wanted to see a new dimension of my phone, I can wear a particular set of goggles that helps me to see that as well. Blockchain is another. Okay, so this is a public distributed ledger. And this is so exciting because, you know, one of my colleagues in PwC says, you know, it will be now very difficult for people, when we adopt blockchain properly, it will be very difficult for anybody to forge certificates, because the way blockchain works is that it creates the same data that, let's say, your university has, but it replicates it so that, you know, just the same way my phone and my iPad have data that is connected, okay? So you cannot forge a certificate in Lagos. If you forge it in Lagos, it will not forge in Ife, you know, it will automatically replicate. Okay, so for land records and stuff like that, I'm aware that one of the governments in Nigeria is working with, you know, different companies to try to use blockchain for their land use registries and stuff like that. So once it is registered, that data is contiguous in different places where it is stored. Okay, drones. I love drones. They brought a new dimension into our world. Okay, drones participate in flight or movement without the presence of a pilot. So if you've seen people at big events nowadays where they've got somebody taking a picture in a panoramic way from the sky, they're just using a drone, okay? Drones are becoming very powerful. You can use drones, I mean, to monitor farmland or Sambisa forest. I understand that some drones were used in Sambisa to try to find out where these bad guys were, and so on and so forth. So again, the flip side of that, if you as a professional now know about drone technology, you know how to use drones and the thinking behind drones, you know how to use that, then you are in business, because this is technology that was not existed before. You can imagine using drones in the banking hall now for customer service, you know, where you can actually sitting down there, you know, use a drone that is very small to identify whether people were happy, customers were happy or not. Then that means the customer service officer does not exactly have the same kind of job that they used to have. Number 6, Internet of Things is another one. This is very powerful, and I won't go into the definition, but your Google Maps is something that we are all, everybody says Google is my friend. Somebody said a few days ago, Google is the Bible of Lagos, you know, and so on and so forth. So these are good examples. So I'm going somewhere right after this. I need Google to tell me what the traffic is like, what are the alternative routes and stuff like that. Again, you ask yourself as a professional, what is the capability that I need here? So there's data, there's artificial intelligence, there's machine learning, and all of that. These are things that you can begin to pick up. Robotic process automation is number 7. And this was designed originally to complete administrative work. So if you built your career around, you know, that image that Tolu showed us where, you know, plenty of records and file keeping, then you may be out of a job, but you can reskill, you can upskill yourself and begin to talk about how we can use, you know, robotic process automation to, for instance, process customer data. Again, it goes back to data, it goes back to understanding how robots and stuff, how they work, okay? Robotics. And this is easy for us. This is a combination of engineering and computer science to create bots. COVID-19 has brought the use of bots to our front now because you want to go to the airport and you don't want to deal with human beings as it were. So these are those very powerful things that help us to understand what we're doing. So this is virtual reality is another one of those technologies, so that you can tour an entire property. So this is not about building a model now like 3D does, but I can sit in my house and wear a set of goggles, right, that tell me what the inside of this new property in Banana Island, and I can tour it. You know, you probably see that when you're trying to book a hotel nowadays. Sometimes you can take a tour of the entire hotel from where you are, and so on and so forth. So what are the skills that are required? Again, like I said, the skills are the flip side of the technologies that I've talked about. You've got to understand machine learning, you've got to understand design thinking, you've got to understand data and analytics, and so on and so forth. Mindsets, relationships, and behaviors are also powerful. So I'm going to kind of close by ramming up on those ones. First of all, like we said earlier, these skills remain hard to get. So when we say that there are new skills, I remember in the year 2000 when we were doing Y2K, people who could do Y2K programming in the UK at that time, they made a lot of money. So 74% of the CEOs we surveyed all over the world are concerned that these skills around these technologies that I've talked about, they are hard to find. So if you're on this call and you want to recreate your career or your business, then you've got a curriculum lined up for you. It's a call to personal action. But beyond technology, if you look at the slide on the screen right now, you will see that beyond technology, there are also some skills that are battlegrounds, like Ronnie said, leadership. And I'm not talking about leadership like, you know, transformational leadership alone, but how do you lead people in a digital world? You know, there's a totally different mindset to lead people in a world that thrives on creativity. If you're still the kind of manager or leader who is the only one who talks throughout the meeting, then you're not going to have a lot of creativity in your meeting. In fact, you should be the last to speak. You set the tone and let people speak, right? Problem solving, the ability to think. So when we're trying to create customer experiences, what we are doing is that we're solving problems. So you can see that that is another area. So don't be afraid. Okay, what do organizations want, and what is my, how do I handshake those things? So you're going to find out where this organization works. I've talked about this, how we are moving from a traditional hierarchical model to project-based agile teams. So if you're a manager, you've got to ask yourself, teaming skills are important. Okay, how do I work as a team? How do I become an inspirational leader? In PwC, for example, you can be the most profitable leader, but if you are not inspirational, being inspirational is a KPI that every leader has. So no matter how much money I make for the company, is at least a quarter of my performance is measured by whether I inspire people or not. Very difficult, but you've got to do it, right? Okay. So be radically open, be open to new things, and you will win. So I've talked about these key skills: creativity, imagination, design, emotional intelligence. There are many people in our world who are not emotionally intelligent, right? They know about themselves, but they don't know about other people. In order for you to play in the new world of work, you've got to be emotionally intelligent, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to conclude with this. In PwC, when we decided to help our people to be ready for this new world, we rolled out a program last year, long before COVID-19. We called it Our Tomorrow, so that we could compete better in the workplace. We decided to make 100% of our staff, at least at the very minimum, aware of data and analytics and artificial intelligence. It was much more than that, but these two were basic. And everybody from associate to partner had to go through that program. But here you will find, when you get this slide, this is a whole universe of courses that you can search for online and build your capability in this area. So this is the fitness app again, which gives you an introduction into what this is about. I encourage you to use it. It's free. It was supposed to end of July, but PwC decided that we want to help people to truly be ready for this new world and extended it to June next year. Thank you very much, and I hope that has been useful.
Thank you so much, Shola. Indeed, extremely useful. As you spoke, what occurred to me was that there are risks also to some of these, the exposure that we get from using some of these, tools. So drones, an invasion of privacy, So hopefully, I hope some of the questions address that. But if not, during the Q&A, if you could please talk about how we also, as we become natives, can manage the downside that this new digital reality presents. So thank you to all our panelists, to Rolly, to Tolu, and to Shola. It has been an extremely engaging session, no less than last month, if I may say so. If anything, a lot deeper in terms of what we can truly glean from your knowledge and your expertise. And from what I see in the chat room, a lot of people are beginning to, Google Lens, a few people have already downloaded. So Tolu, you provoked, believe me, you provoked very, very well. So at this point in time, what I'd like to do is, please continue to fill the poll. We need that in terms of feedback. But I'd like to go into the Q&A session. I have 20 minutes for Q&A. So I will take as many questions as we can take. If your question is not in the Q&A link, please type it in there so that it's easy for me to access it. So at this point in time, I think the first question we have here is to Tolu. It says, is it possible to streamline the information a company like Facebook can get? In other words, can you control the information that you make available to a Facebook? Tolu?
Yes, you can to an extent. So unfortunately, let me just say this first. The information they've already gathered on you, you can't delete it. What you can do is stop giving them more information. And one way to do that is to sign out of Facebook. So let's say you use Google Chrome. I know that's the most popular browser among most people. So let's say you use Google Chrome, and in that Google Chrome, you're signed into Facebook. Then you come and visit my website. So you come to kugali.com, and I have a Facebook pixel. That's a tracking tool. I have it installed on my website. Now, the fact that you come to my website, Facebook will record it, even though you did not go to Facebook, because your browser is already signed in with your Facebook account and you came to my website. But if your browser is not signed in with your Facebook account and you come to my website, then you're anonymous. Facebook does not know that this is you who came. So there are little things like that, and I cannot go into all of them now. But it's one of those things that you can search. You can just Google it and find out, okay, how do I limit the kind of data Facebook collects on me? Another one I would actually suggest to use Firefox browser if you're on a PC. I would suggest use Firefox and not Google Chrome, because Firefox has a feature called Facebook containers. And you can search for it and read it up by yourself and find out how to use it. But Firefox's Facebook container can help you keep Facebook in a sandbox, so that Facebook is locked in a sandbox and isn't able to see everything else you're doing. So those are things you can read up on your own. And the same applies to all other social networks, because the rest of them also collect information about you.
Thank you very much, Tolu. Thank you. The next question is for Rolly. It says, switching from offices before the pandemic to an all remote setup will be replacing one dogma for another. In other words, full work, physical, then remote work in the other extreme. What I miss is when you walk into a physical meeting, you're able to talk and connect with people, and before and after the meeting. That's tough to replicate virtually, as are other soft skills, in terms of managing and mentoring others. And this is a quotation from Satya Nadella, the Microsoft CEO. And the question is, what do you think? In other words, is this future of work, is it the El Dorado? Is it really as desirable as we at times make it sound?
So the honest truth is that we truly appreciate and understand the human connections, what human connections can do, and how it sort of just helps us to be able to connect, relate. It's more relatable. So yes, truly that is a possibility that will happen. But what we are saying is that the truth of the matter is that in building human connections in this new era, it's also helping in this new era. It means that we have to just find a way to build these connections here online, real time. It's not the same as at being in face-to-face with people, but you know that the pandemic really is going to blow over. We will still have to meet one-on-one. Yes, we will still meet in virtually as well. So in meetings would possibly happen more online more than ever, but there will still be, the pandemic will be over, and we will also have to meet one-on-one. So it's not only, we shouldn't look at it and say, oh, we are no longer going to have in-person meetings. No.
So Rolly, maybe I can build on that question by asking, what do you think the new normal will be for people who in the past 6 months have had so much time to bond with family, who have gotten up from bed in the morning and had enough time for, not just the toileting, but exercising and a few things that make life a bit more meaningful. If HR were to provide a value proposition, so it's a proactive HR unit was to say by January 1, this is a new normal I'll be striving for, that would really motivate people. But what do you think that new normal will be?
Okay, so it's there is some organizations like PwC have offered very good HR talent management practices. One would include work from home. So I don't necessarily have to come to the office every day. So for instance, I don't have to get to the office every day. I just have to account for what I do for 8 hours. So what am I doing? Output, not hours. So what are you going to do for 8 hours? Just make sure that you have a great performance management system that can capture what everybody is doing. And, that speaks to what the business strategy or where the business is going, the business objective. And then, give people the options.
Let go. Yeah.
Yes, let go.
Yeah. And the truth is, if people don't do it, it will happen. Your competitor will steal your staff. And your staff will be productive for your competitor just because you haven't quite adjusted to what this new normal requires. Thank you, Rolly. Somebody has asked, will everybody get the presentations? I think if you registered and we have your email address, the presentations will be sent out as was done the last time. Somebody said we need another session, Digital Fitness 3 with Tolu. So we'll discuss that later before AiMP to decide. A question now for Shola. It says, please hold on. After someone decides to make a career change and take a course on digital business, how do you get a job when most people are looking for people with long years of experience, in these areas? I don't know if you
Yeah, actually, the reverse is the case. What we find, and we are very heavy in executive selection, and Rolly can speak to that, more clients are actually looking for young people I'm not saying Tolu is young, but I'm just saying they're looking for people who will bring fresh ideas. I think last month I shared the story of a fresh graduate from a Nigerian university who had developed herself very well with all of these things that we're talking about. And one of our clients was going to roll out their business, deliver their service purely digital. This was long before COVID-19. And they were going to offer her, she asked for $1 million a month, fresh graduate. And I mean, at that time, even their managers were not earning that kind of money, but they made her the offer because the capability she was bringing was what they needed for their business. So we don't want her to come and be general manager. We just want her to come and help us to build the platforms. And there was another one, that the person said, well, I'm young, but I want to work for 3-4 organizations at the same time. So I can give you 2 hours of my 2 days out of my week. And if I don't want to be on your staff, I want to be free to do whatever I want. So those are the new worlds of work that are coming, and if you are a business leader, owner, if you don't have that flexibility again, you will lose out those people, because you probably can't afford to pay a Tolu to come and sit down in your organization alone. So how much are you going to pay? So yeah, that's the reality.
Yeah. So I guess it goes back to your slide, which talks of mindset. The fact that this reality could be upon us, but if that mindset truly does not change, you could be an ostrich with his head in the sand, and that's the reality for those people who lead people and run businesses here. Then there's a question here for Rolly, and I think anybody can weigh in here. It says, how do you see KPIs being developed in the new normal, in which capabilities is more focused on output than on ours? And I think the principle is clear, but I think what people want to hear are examples, things that can jog their minds into how they can recraft KPIs. So Rolly, you probably want to start, and everybody else will also try and weigh in on this.
Key performance indicators generally, first of all, should be tailored towards where the organization is going. What's the organization's strategy? What does the organization want to achieve at the end of a particular given financial year or period? The balanced scorecard approach typically would be the fallback to say, let's just quickly look at that and say, okay, what KPIs can we do centered around the financials, around customer, around processes, around learning, all right? And all of this have to be very clear, because what you would do here is also tied to clear data. So it has to be data driven, so that you have the clear numbers being brought to the fore. So I'll give an example. So for instance, if an organization says that for this particular period, and we want, so for instance, in PwC, when we rolled out the digital fitness, we all had a score that we all had to meet, and it was part of our KPIs. So if you have, they will be asking as part of my snapshot, I had to indicate my score that I achieved for the last FY on my digital fitness, on the digital fitness application. So those are clear things that as you drive initiatives in the organization, you settle for the things that you know that your organization is trying to achieve as a business at the end of the year.
Thank you. Shola, do you have any examples for us in terms of, some of those endpoints, triggers? So using the balanced scorecard, what will be a KPI in the area of people for a manager?
Yeah, so for example, the balanced scorecard talks about financial, customer, process, and learning. So we don't call it the balanced scorecard in PwC, we call it the PwC professional. So every one of us has a goal around, like Rolly said, your score in digital fitness. And I think Joe talked about that last month, about how Union also did the same. So that's one. But even from a people point of view, in terms of providing inspirational leadership, like I said earlier, so companies decide to do what they call annual people surveys, leadership or 360-degree assessment. People have been stopped in their career advancement simply because, when they wanted to promote you, when they brought your performance records and what your team members, your peers, everybody said about you, showed that you are not an inspirational leader. And because the organization recognizes that inspiration as a leader is vital for innovation, okay? And innovation is vital for our bottom line. So if we now have at the bottom of the chain a leader who is draconian and who is not promoting innovation in his team, we want to correct that behavior early before it gets too far. So it's a serious, organizations that are serious about playing in the new normal are actually paying closer attention to leadership behaviors.
Thank you. Tolu, any examples of KPIs, practical KPIs that you have set, that our people can learn from?
Okay, yes. So I said it in the last session that Kugali has actually been remote from the get-go. This had nothing to do with COVID. When we started, all co-founders are on different continents. So the thing is, when we set KPIs and goals and we want to measure them, we have to put a number to everything. So, and I'm speaking specifically to things that are usually not easy to measure. So if I tell someone to make 50 sales, it's easy to check whether or not he made 50 sales.
Mm-hmm.
Or if I tell someone to do some research, the person can Google something for 10 minutes and tell me he did the research. Or he can spend 3 days on it. So how do I measure whether he did this research or not? So there has to be a measurable output that has a number next to it. So, get X amount of information and put it in written form where we can see it. So we see the output no matter what the task is. And another example would be something like relationship. So the company's relationship with stakeholders. So let's say because of what we do, we talk with a lot of bloggers, people that blog about our type of media, so comics, games, and those things. Now, if we say we have a chart and our relationship with this particular blogger or podcaster on a scale of 1 to 5, where 5 is the highest, if we say our relationship is on a 1, and we tell you your task is to improve our relationship with our stakeholders, then you should be able to tell us, oh, we moved from a 1 to a 2, or from a 2 to a 4. And the way we measure that relationship is if we were to contact this person right now and ask the person, hey, can you post on your blog about this new product we are launching? How likely is the person to say, yes, I will post about it? That is measurable. So, but, just improve the relationship. Improve the relationship is not measurable by itself. So you have to decide a way to measure it, a way that everybody on your team understands, so that the person can mark himself even before you review what he has done. He can say, I didn't do this thing well, or I did this, I reached the goal.
Thank you so much, Tolu. So, just on this KPI discussion, we all know about SMART, so the specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. But just gleaning from, what our panelists have said, clearly focus on the output, not the activity. Where it's measurable through a poll, like Shola said, deploy the poll. But even when there's no poll, try and make it quantifiable. Try and quantify the output that you do desire, either in terms of the quantity, in terms of number, or in terms of the quality. And like Tolu said, the quality, you may need to talk to the customer, because really you can't judge that just by the activity. So it's a bit of work, but I guess organizations that set good KPIs are on the right track. The question has come for Shola, and it's on emotional intelligence. It says, can you expatiate on emotional intelligence and then compare it to artificial intelligence? I think there are two different things, but I think that it would be great to hear your insight, Shola. And it ties into what you're talking about, inspirational leadership anyway, emotional intelligence.
Yeah, thanks. I think I also responded to the person on the chat. So if you think about the Apple phone, for example, the iPhone or your Android phone, the people who design that user experience, while there is a technology part of it, all the data analytics and all of that stuff, somebody somewhere is sitting down and thinking, how do I make people's lives convenient? I think I once read somewhere that the Apple phone, that's why it doesn't come with a user manual, okay? Because in the design process, somebody is thinking that what would people need? And that's the most elementary, or the entry level of how emotional intelligence plays in the design and the use of this technology, or the offering of these technologies for people to use. So if you are someone who does not, and we all know that emotional intelligence is about knowing yourself, knowing others, and knowing how to, modify or moderate your behavior to engage with people. So emotional intelligence certainly is required to even build systems that that feed into artificial intelligence. See, at the bottom, at the beginning of the artificial intelligence value chain is a set of behaviors that are now translated by technology into the computer, okay? But if you have people who don't understand, I'm sure you probably brought a device once that you wonder that the person who designed this thing is the person a carpenter or a welder, because he just didn't understand how they work. So that's one. But the other bigger side is actually that there is an environment that promotes creativity and innovation, and there are environments that ensure that people just take orders. And if you didn't tell them what to do, they will not do anything. Now, the good news is that according to the law of the lead by John Maxwell, the leader, lead as in LID, but the leader is the one who is the primarily responsible for determining the climate of his operating environment, whether people are allowed to speak up or whether people are allowed to make mistakes. I remember in the early days of the quality movement, the Japanese were reputed to be very adventurous with innovation, new Toyota cars every year. But it was also because they had a system that allowed people to make mistakes. They actually rewarded people for trying out new things. And they said that it's because of those kind of experiments that they were able to stumble on the right things. So if you're a leader whose emotional intelligence is underdeveloped, you will not let people try new things. You will stop them from being adventurous, and you will not be innovative. And of course, artificial intelligence and all of what we're talking about will not happen.
Thank you, Shola. So I think, let me see if we have any other question. Final question: the cost of data in Nigeria has always been an issue and likely to continue in the near future. What would you advise an SME trying to implement a Netflix-like solution, for instance, for the Nollywood industry, knowing that data is so expensive? And do you have any insight as to how the government or the telco industry is looking to address this currently? Tolu, do you want to try, and then anybody else?
I was going to say that Tolu was best for that.
Yes. Because I mean, I guess data is required for the consumption of your own products. So, how do you address that?
Yes. So I think it's just, personally, I think because you can't do much about the infrastructure available in your country unless you, as an individual, you can play your part, but you can't do much to affect the overall ecosystem. So what I think is each person should just prioritize data as one of their most important resources. So I think in the last session, I talked about how if you can afford a place to stay and you have food and clothes, then you should prioritize internet access over getting a TV. It's just the way I think. And even when I'm broke and I'm on my last card, as we call it, I will have data. I may not have money for a few other things, but I will have data because I feel like I'm handicapped when I don't. So unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about the prices I am charged for the data. I can't tell my phone network, hey, I need to pay 1/3 of this price. But what I can do is, if I have limited resources, I can prioritize data in my budget.
Excellent, thank you. I mean, just think of somebody who in the last 6 months of the lockdown / remote working has attended webinars and upskilled themselves, be it on subject matters like the macroeconomy or just technical areas, functional areas. Clearly, when the person substantially gets back to work in this so-called new normal, that investment in data will speak for itself, and then they can afford all the luxuries they want, because I'm sure promotions will be in view. So Tolu, your point is real. I think it was Rolly who said, earlier, that in the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where we had shelter, clothing, feeding, that right now people have thought of putting data in there, and that's the reality. Thank you very much. We can't take any more questions at this point in time. And there is a lady who said, if you're in your 40s, I mean, for goodness sake, probably over the hill, how can we, adapt to these realities you just painted? And that's what I'd like to close out on. I think the reality that has been painted is that there's a new mindset, a new reality that that has happened upon us today. And in that reality, age really doesn't matter, when you're working remotely and having creative ideas, nobody's going to ask you whether you're 60 or 65. It's possible that in the reality of the past, coming to the office with gray hair may have been a downer, but suddenly it's the tools, it's the skills that matter. Age frankly becomes a number. And that is why this session and the one we had last month have been so valuable and so interesting, because it is teaching us how to operate in this new reality, which is a reality that frankly has less limitations than the reality we are migrating from. So I'd like to conclude on that note and invite Pastor John to conclude the meeting. Thank you. Pastor John, are you on mute or is it Shagun?
I'm mute. Okay, so
okay.
It's actually Joe that will be taking the announcements. We'll hand over to him.
Great.
All right. Thank you so much, Sister Uwa. You have done an outstanding job, and I want to thank our speakers. You've been excellent. Tolu, Shola, Rolly, thank you so much. We'll just quickly take a few announcements. I know the time is well spent. Well, Pastor John went through what AiMP is all about. We're a network of Christian leaders and professionals who are committed to individual, national, and organizational transformation. We're apostles in the marketplace. So if you believe you have something to offer, you have the background, the professional training, and what it takes to offer, you're invited to please join us as we continue to transform our country and our organizations. We also have programs that are tailored to raising leaders, raising transformation agents. The first is Change Agent Academy, and the second is a program tailored to younger members of our community. So if you are between 25 and 35, you can join our program, the Young Professionals Training and Mentorship Program. And if you are a bit more experienced in your career, you can actually join the Change Agents Academy. These programs are currently, we're registering for these programs as we speak. So please contact our secretariat and we'll share a number and an email address to reach out to. So if you're interested in working with us to become a change agent, these are programs tailored for your use. We have sent out polls. We thank you for filling them out. We also would like you to join us as a sponsor, a donor. We need resources to continue to do this great work, this very important work. So all you have to do is let us know if you're interested in partnering with us in either of these categories, and we'll engage you. So thank you so much for your interest, whether you donate or not, all right? We need you to be an apostle in the marketplace. That is much more important. But we need sponsors, we need contributors to this great work. We do have some books written under our platform. These are on the screen. You can get these books on Okada Books, Amazon Kindle, or you can actually go to Lantana Bookstore in VI to get the books if you are disposed to go in physically. But you can reach out to us on info@aimpnetwork.org, or our phone number, which is 0903-365-4839. Don't hesitate. Just reach out to the email address if you need anything from the Secretariat. Well, on that note, I would want to thank you once again for being part of our series for August. People have requested for Tolu to do one whole series by himself. We don't know if that is feasible, but one thing is clear. He is accessible. He has sent his YouTube link, I believe, and you can reach out to our panelists. They are available. All right, but I want to thank you all for being part of this program. We'll quickly take a word of prayer as we close. Let's all pray. Father, we just want to thank you for the opportunity to learn and to grow. We thank you for an excellent moderator, outstanding speakers, and for members of AiMP who are committed to national, organizational, and personal transformation. You've asked us to be transformed with the renewing of our minds. We pray that these tools we have learned today or have been exposed to will help us in achieving that transformation. We want to thank you, Lord God, for the grace to properly appreciate and appropriate these tools and the learning and the tips. And they'll make us true apostles in the marketplace. Workmen and women who will not be ashamed in the workplace. Please continue to empower and direct us in all our various businesses and callings. Father, do take all the glory for today and for all that you continue to do through AiMP and through everyone who has associated with AiMP. Be glorified, Lord God, for in Jesus' name we have prayed. Amen. Amen.